Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite, and let's bring in our guest. It is the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, Jeff Blashill. Jeff, thanks for joining us on the headliner today. Really appreciate it.
Art, thanks for having me on. Always enjoy talking to you.
I saw when they showed the Red Wing war room in the draft. There was a picture of you. You were sitting there. You were prominent. Now, I know from covering past drafts, you really don't have a real hand on these players. However, with the pandemic, were you able to get a better sense when they're debating Lucas Raymond at 4th overall? Because you were a college recruiter. You have a good eye for talent. You know what you're doing. Were you more involved this year than you were in maybe years past?
No, I'd say no, Art. The reality of the draft is, I think it's important in the National Hockey League, especially that you do your job and you do your job really well, and to get involved in other people's areas, that's getting out of your lane, and all of a sudden you're not doing your job great. So I think the most important thing is making sure that you're doing your own job as good as you can and spending your time and resources that way. I talked to Chris Draper early in the pause and said, Chris, if you'd like me to watch some of these guys, I'll watch them and give you, my thoughts on players. And he welcomed that, because Chris, at the end of the day, wants as much information as he can from different resources. And then they go into their war room and they banter about it, and they decide what they, being the scouting staff and the management team, decide what they think is the best pick for the long-term future of the Detroit Red Wings. And so, I probably had a little more, I definitely had more time to watch some of the prospects than I would have in past years, although I've done that before. I gave, my thoughts on guys, but it's understanding that it's relative to not seeing all the rest of the players necessarily, and it's relative to not seeing them live. And so, I think Chris took my thoughts, and like he did with a lot of information, they took it in and then made the decision they thought was the best decision for the long-term success of the Detroit Red Wings.
Looking at Lucas Raymond specifically, I can remember being at the summer showcase where he and Lafreniere were the talk of the showcase. I think he got hurt in that summer showcase, but he was right up there as maybe even being maybe number 1 overall. For him to fall, and it was disappointing the Red Wings fell to 4th, but to get a player of his caliber, did that kind of lessen the blow for you? I mean, because Lucas Raymond is, when Steve Yzerman says he has the potential of being an elite forward in this league, Steve does not throw out praise very well. It really does look like that you've got a pretty good little hockey player there.
Well, I think first off, we never looked at it necessarily as lessening the blow. I think, there was lots of disappointment in the fan base based on the fact we fell to 4th, but that to me is more of an issue with the system than it was that particular pick. We felt, and Steve certainly felt, and I talked to him lots about it, that we have a chance to get a great player at 4. Whether we do or we don't, that's a hard, drafting is a very, very hard business, and you're never going to be perfect. You need to have a little bit of luck on your side, and sometimes you just never know. You look through the drafts, both recent and in the past, sometimes the best player out of the draft 10 years later, when you reflect on it, doesn't come at 1. It might come at 4, it might come at 10, might come at 25. Who knows? So in the end, we had a chance to get a guy that we felt was going to be a good player. I think all the players that went in that area, I know most of them as players, and they all got a chance to be really good. I don't know which guy's going to be the best. I think it's hard to know that. Really, really hard to predict some of that. I think with Raymond, we got a player who has a chance to be dynamic, and I think, if the draft had been a 17-year-old draft instead of an 18-year-old draft, after the U18s that he had, he might have went 1 or 2 overall. And so that shows you the level of talent over the course of the next year. He played men's league. It's harder to show some of your skill set. There's injuries involved, and we got him at 4. So all we're focused on really is the fact that we think we got a good player who could become a really good player at number 4, and we're hope ultimately for the Detroit Red Wings, we hope he becomes an elite player. But time will tell on that. Most guys, you want to start with hopefully that they become good players, and then if they can build into better than that, then our organization's in a real good spot.
Jeff, I would imagine at this point, being we're in month 9 of this pandemic and semi lockdown or whatever you really want to call it. It appears that hopefully hockey's going to happen soon. I know there's ice at the Belfour. I mean, you have a plan. You're ready to go. Do you hope you get that extra 7 days or so because the Red Wings have been off the ice for so long?
Well, I think as a coach, you want as much time as you can to plan and to get things in place. And I say that, I guess you can have too much time too, and we don't want that. But, would I like the extra week? Yeah, I'd like the extra week. I think it gives us a little more time to make sure we have everything in place. But now so much time's gone by from last season till now. It's a little different than if we would have started earlier. Whatever the camp we get, whatever amount of time we get, we're going to maximize that, and we're going to have to be ready to go. And it's going to be equal footing for everybody. So if we get 21 days, that's great. If we get 14 days, that's great. If we get 10 days, whatever we get, honestly, right now, we want to play hockey. I want to coach hockey. Our guys want to play hockey, and we really don't care what the time frame is. We just want to get going, and we'd love a starting date, and we'd love to just get going. And that's just the reality. We talk here lots about making sure that you appreciate every single day in the National Hockey League. We've said that for years as a coaching staff, and even through hard times like last year, it's really important to make sure you appreciate every day you have in this league. And if we've learned anything, it's just reaffirmed that belief that over the last however many months it's been now, man, all we want to do is play. And so whatever the parameters are. Honestly, as a group of guys here, I know talking to our players, we don't care. Let's just go play.
Well, Steve has said jobs are available, and you have several great additions. I love the Mark Stahl trade on many levels, but with Stahl now part of the team and bringing back Danny DeKeyser, I feel suddenly your penalty kill is much better. I mean, Stahl's minutes might have been decreasing with the Rangers, yet he's still a very, very good and proficient penalty killer.
Yeah, I think, obviously when we get a start date and we get going, we're going to get a better look at where all the guys are at. I think Steve did a good job of trying to help our team this year. And I think we've got guys that have a chance to help us be better. Will they? That's up to each guy to show and prove. I think Mark Stahl has been a good player in this league for a long time. I think he can still continue to be a good player, but he's going to get a chance to prove that when we start camp. And it's no different than any of the other guys that we added. Troy Stetcher is a guy who I know, did a good job in Vancouver, didn't get as much specialty time as he'd like. Does he get more of those opportunities? We'll see. He'll get a chance to do that. So, I think, Danny DeKeyser, we're hoping can come back and be healthy. But he was out with with a real severe injury. Like a back injury is a big deal, and you don't just hop back in and everything's great. Sometimes there's some trials and tribulations that go with returning from a back injury. So we don't know yet until we get going, where his health is at. So we'll know the makeup of what our group looks like better once we get to camp. And then guys have a chance to show that they can make us better. To say jobs are open, I think that to me that would be an obvious statement in the sense that we were a bad hockey team last year, and we need to be a better hockey team. And so guys have to prove that they can help us win more games than what we won a year ago.
When you look at it, Nemetsikoff, Bobby Ryan, we talked a little bit about Stetcher, but, especially up front, I mean, getting Mantha signed to a long-term deal, great move, obviously. Tyler Bertuzzi signed for another year. I'm kind of looking at when you look at this forward core, now you have some competition, and we're not even including Zadina, who's tearing it up in the Czech League, and Michael Rasmussen, who's doing pretty well in Austria. I think that they're obviously going to come back. They're not on loan. They're not in Sweden. They're not going to stay in Sweden. They're definitely coming back. So your forward core, I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jeff, is that there's competition on this team finally, and the Red Wings are going to be better.
Well, the one thing I know for sure is that we have to get more out of more lines. Last year, if you look at the chances generated, generally it was based on the Larkin line, and they also got a lion's share of the ice time. And I think as a coaching staff, we've looked at it and said, how can we make sure we get more out of more lines? We certainly need, Larkin's line to be really good, but we need other guys to have important roles and need to get more out of more guys. And that's partly, our responsibility as coaches to make sure we're putting them in the situations to be able to do that. And then it's the players' responsibility to go out and execute and continue to earn more ice time. And so, but we know we can't, we certainly, no team can in this league, and we can't be a one-line team. And so, I think we've added some players into the mix that have a chance to give us more depth. We're hoping that that plays out, that comes to fruition. But we'll get a chance to do that and prove that as we get going. Bobby Ryan's a guy who I've really enjoyed getting to know. He's a mature player. He's been around the league a long time, but he's also hungry. He's kind of got knocked down a little bit. When you get bought out, you get knocked down, and I think he's done a good job of getting himself back up and ready to try to go out and have a good year. But he's got to go out and prove it. And it's the same for any of the players that are coming in. I thought Philip Zadina did a good job at the end of last year. I thought he not at the end of last year, sorry, when he came up and played until he got injured, I thought he was steadily improving. So, can he take a step? It just really depends. You need players to continuously take steps, and we need guys to come out and have great years. And every year is a new year. So, and certainly this year, more than ever, it's a totally new year. Like, we've never had this much time in between seasons. So, it's a fresh start, so to speak. And let's go out and let's try to prove on a daily basis that we can get better. And that really, to me, is the focus, just getting better on a daily basis.
Jeff, I'm kind of obsessed with the second center position. I've asked you about it a lot, and I know that Robby Fabbri has expressed, and you've tried him as a second line center. I know he believes he's a center. Will you give him a shot at second line center?
Well, as we sit here today, my plan is to give him an opportunity as that second line center, or as a center in that with that line. I think Robby did a good job in a very, very short window last year of playing that center position. It's the position he played in junior, and that when he turned pro, that he believes that he is his natural position. And if Robby Fabbri can become a top six centerman, then our organization's in a better place. And so I think it's important to give him that opportunity. Him and I will discuss what the opportunity means and in a clear manner, so he knows what that means. And then he's just got to go. As I've talked to him, he's got to make sure he does a really good job of defending. He's a little bit of a smaller body, so as a smaller body, he's got to do a great job of using his brain to defend. Using body leverage, finding ways to come up with pucks and get out of the zone as fast as we can, and then he can use his offensive talent moving up the ice. So he'll as we sit here today with the group that we have right now today, he'll get that chance. Obviously, those things can change. You never know what your roster is going to look like on day one with injuries and COVID and anything that can happen. But as we sit here today, yes, he'll get that chance.
Jeff, there's so many questions I want to ask, and I know we're running out of time, but because of what we've seen, how other leagues have opened, and because of COVID-19 protocol, do you expect, or would you like to see the rosters expanded? Because if someone tests positive, they're going to have to immediately quarantine, and that would be another roster spot. Are there discussions going about how we're going to deal with this season since we're still in a pandemic?
Well, I'm sure there are discussions. That's a higher level than the coaching side. Those are discussions at the league level with the PA. I know that there's been conversations over the last period of time, and so we're just waiting on getting what exactly the parameters are. I think there has to probably be something given to the fact that if we did start before the American League, we'd have to have probably a larger roster to be able to choose from than normally, because we normally would have the American League to be able to call up players. And so I'm sure all those things are getting discussed, Art. I don't have the answers, and I'm not part of those conversations, so I really don't want to speculate on what that means. But certainly with the pandemic still going, with the opportunity for COVID to have a big impact on your team, but probably most importantly, if we did start, and I don't know that we will, but if we did start before the American League, we'd have to have some way to be able to get to a larger pool of players. So we'll see where that goes.
Jeff, I know when we originally talked to you, it was the beginning of the pandemic. We're now, I believe, 9 months in, or I don't know, all these days kind of blend in. I can't believe that it's going to be Christmas in a couple of weeks here. But I'm just kind of curious, how's it been for you? I know that, you were teaching your children, and I know you had a lot of great quality family time, but I would imagine you're a lot like me, chomping at the bit to get some sort of hockey going, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think from our family's perspective, first off, everybody in my family, including my parents, are healthy. So we're very thankful of that. We know that there's lots of other people around the country that have suffered great loss, and so we're certainly really, really thankful. I think perspective is a really important thing in life, and we know the perspective first and foremost is the health of our family. And so we've had a chance to do some things with each other as a family that we don't always have time to do. But I'd also say, both from my family's perspective and from my perspective, like we I want to get back to work. This is the purpose in my life, is family and work. And so I want to get back to work. And as I said earlier, as a group, we just want to get back to playing and competing and doing the things we love. And it's been a good reminder for us of how special every day is in this league, as I said, and let's get back at it. So, again, I'm very thankful for the fact that from a health standpoint, everybody in my family's healthy, but certainly want to get back to work.
Well, I'll tell you this, Jeff, I'm looking forward to seeing you again, even though it'll be from like 1,200 feet or we'll be in different rooms or whatever. But, I appreciate your time on the headliner today. And, as I said, I think that with the moves that the organization has made, some of the young talent looks like they're ready maybe to take that next step. It should be a fun season whenever it begins. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff. Really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Art.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer. It's only 96 calories. It tastes delicious, and it's available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.